So, I invented a new one.
Whoa!
Hello!
Out of popcorn.
Oh! Wow. Crazy.
Samuel walked into the tank looking for $140,000 for 15% of his popcorn, flour, pancake, and waffle mix. Here it is. As you can see, there's a popcorn one, there's a gluten-free one, there's a blue corn one. The main innovation that he came up with is the popcorn flour itself, but he's built that into this pancake waffle mix business. The story goes that he met his now wife, who is an acrobat, and he wanted to impress her with a pancake that was nutrition dense enough to get her through her performance, but was also just as light as she was in the air. I know, it's very corny, pun intended. It cost him $3.10 to make, and he sells it for $11.25 for a 16-ounce bag, which is ridiculously expensive to me at least. He said they've done about $250,000 in lifetime sales, which averaged out to about $20,000 a year in sales, meaning they've been in business about 12 and a half years so far, which is not great numbers-wise. But the Sharks do all love the taste of the product. We find out he's only in about 20 independent grocers in Chicago, and then other than that, he only sells from his website. He also openly admits that he has no social media e-commerce savvy at all, and that they pretty much just rely on word of mouth. Now, before I go into what the Sharks had to say, I have to go into how unhinged this entire pitch was. So we start at the beginning. He has his wife on silks performing, which is awesome, but honestly has nothing to do with the product itself. And it's so distracting, you can tell all the Sharks are not listening as he starts his pitch, because this beautiful woman is in the air. My personal opinion, he should have let her perform and then started the pitch, because how are you supposed to pay attention to both? Then before she leaves, they do this wild walkout, which I just have to show y'all.
I'm out.
Do you want to ride?
Yeah, sure.
Let's go.
Whoa!
Oh my god! Oh my god.
Wow.
So at this point, it's already off the rails, but it gets weirder because then we have a guest appearance.
He's my good friend. He's America's friend. Mr. David Schwimmer.
So apparently they know each other from the theater scene in Chicago, and he's not an investor, he's just a super big believer in it, and told Samuel that he should apply for Shark Tank, and that if he got on, David would go make a guest appearance to serve waffles, because he knows the show and he knows that Lori does not like pancakes, which is true, but he knows that this stuff makes a great waffle mix, and he's gonna pitch her on it. If you only watch my recaps and you don't watch the show, I implore you just to go watch this pitch, just to see for yourself how unhinged it all was. Now back to what the Sharks had to say. So Lori thinks the origin story is super romantic, but doesn't feel like this is the right category for her, so she goes out. Barbara hates how slow the business has been moving and doesn't think he's gonna have the drive to hit the certain goalposts that need to happen to grow this business, so she goes out. Once again, unfortunately for all of us, we have Gwyneth Paltrow as our guest shark, who says she doesn't agree with Barbara. She talks about how he's an actor and he needs more grace because he has to learn to be an entrepreneur and blah, blah, blah. It made no sense. And then, in the end, she thinks the business is too small anyway and goes out, which is what Barbara was saying. It was ridiculous. Mark is confused why the name is Long Table, and honestly, so am I. He talks about how it's because he sources all his stuff from farm to table, and he believes in regenerative farming, which is all well and good, but like Mark says, he's the pancake guy. This whole business is focused on pancakes. The name is just so off base for the product, and Mark feels like he's focused too much on the mission and not enough on the actual product, and for those reasons, he goes out. Last, we have Kevin, who sees the business is super on trend and loves the product, but like Barbara, is super unimpressed with his lack of social media savvy and slowness in the business in general, so he goes out. Final thoughts? I really don't have a lot of thoughts because this pitch was so unhinged from start to finish that it completely distracted me from the actual product. Maybe one day I'll try it and let y'all know about it. I love popcorn. I'm a huge popcorn and pancake fan, so I feel like I would like this, but I definitely don't like the price, so the whole thing was just a mess, and I personally think he just needs to hire someone who does social media, marketing, and e-commerce, and just go from there. I don't know. This pitch completely scrambled my entire brain. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hello. Yes, Mark, you have a martini.
Mark has a martini, so...
Yes, I do.
Husband and wife, Randall and Lisa, walked into the tank looking for $300,000 for 5% of their personal wine chiller. Here it is. They have the stemmed version and a stemless version, and how it works is you take the top part, or the whole thing when it comes to the stemless, and put it in the freezer until you're ready to have your wine. Then you set your wine glass in it, and for whites, it works to preserve the chill that's already in the glass, and then for reds, it helps bring them down to cellar temp. The stem version costs them $9.21 to make, and they sell it for $49.95, while the stemless costs them $8.62 to make and sells for $44.95. They've been in business a little less than 2 years, and last year they did $820,000 in sales. However, they aren't profitable and lost $470,000 last year. This year they're projected to do $1.8 million. They didn't say whether they were going to be profitable off that or not, but I would assume not. Who knows though? Their main issue though is their customer acquisition cost, which is $57, which is just huge. Kevin, being the wine guy he is the first to make an offer for $300,000 for 10% along with a $2 royalty until he recoups $1 million. Then the royalty goes away, which I was super surprised about because we all know Kevin loves a royalty in perpetuity. Mark says it's not a fit for him, so he goes out. Barbara hates the design. She actually said it was ugly and she would have to hide it in her kitchen, which I don't agree with, but because of that, she goes out. Our guest shark, Gwyneth Paltrow, says she never uses any of the wine accessories she's bought in the past, so because of that, she goes out. And Lori says there's a lot she'd want to change to make it smaller and streamline it, and she doesn't think that's really what they want or need right now, so she also goes out.
So, go ahead and say it, Kevin.
All roads lead back to
As usual, all roads lead back to Mr. Wonderful. You know,
Who coined you Mr. Wonderful, by the
He
way?
did himself.
You did that to yourself?
Gwyneth, there's truth in advertising.
Wow. That's bold.
So we're left with Kevin, and they really don't want to do the royalty, so they decide to counter, and this is where I got so frustrated because this is a terrible counter. They counter $300,000 for 8% no royalty. Now when you're countering and you're trying to take away a royalty, really your only option is to up the equity that they asked for. So since Kevin asked for 10%, for example, I might try going to 12 or 15 with no royalty in my counter because you want to give them more equity if you're trying to take away a royalty. You have to balance it out somewhere. Obviously, Kevin isn't into it and they're not willing to do the royalty at all. So unfortunately, they walk away without a deal. Final thoughts, I actually saw this before it was on Shark Tank. I almost bought it for my mom for Christmas, but I'm glad I didn't because it turns out she, like Barbara, thinks that they're ugly. I really like the idea though, and I personally think the design is cool. I think it kind of looks like a spaceship, which I'm into, but what I hate is the price. I think if they could get this down to the $30 range, that would be a lot better, but hey, it's not my business. I would love to try one, so if I ever do end up getting one, you know I'll let y'all know how it works, but I don't see myself spending $50 on it anytime soon. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.
Pick a what?
Husband and wife Zin and Melissa walked into the tank looking for $300,000 for 3% of their jicama tortilla business. Here's an example of their products. As you can see, it's not just tortillas. They also sell jicama sticks and what they call jica de gallo, which is pico de gallo with jicama in it. If you've never had jicama before, I feel like the best way to describe it is it's very similar to water chestnut, but it has a little bit more sweetness and tang to it. Not a whole bunch, it's still a very neutral root, but that's the best way I can think to describe it. So they started the business in 2015 as a jicama chip company, and they got to about $500,000 in lifetime sales, but found they just couldn't compete with the big chip manufacturers out there. So in 2019, they pivoted to these products and did $1 million in sales just that year. This year, they're projected to do $6 million, and their profit off that, however, is going to be $400,000. They said it's a bit lower because they're investing in their own manufacturing. They're in about 700 stores, such as Whole Foods and Sprouts, and they also have a deal with Cisco Food Distribution, which is huge. Barbara throws in an offer of 10% for $300,000 with a pro rata distribution of profits. So what does that mean? Really, all it means is that whenever they're taking out profits, they have to give Barbara an equal amount of money that they took out based off the equity she has in the company. The example she gave was that if they took out 90, they needed to give her 10, which I don't know if that's quite right, but it doesn't matter. Unfortunately for everybody, Gwyneth Paltrow is our guest shark, and you would think this would be right up her little, goop alley or whatever, but no. She tells us she can't invest in this product because she cuts her own jicama at home. I'm dead serious. That was the reasoning she gave. It's like, yes, Gwen, we all have the time to go get fresh jicama root and cut it ourselves. You're so real for that. Mark really isn't into the jicama, so he goes out. Lori says it's not the right business for her, so she also goes out. Our entrepreneurs then decide to counter Barbara to lower her equity to 5%. Then Kevin hears that and jumps in and says he'll do the $300,000 for 9% with the pro rata agreement as well, just to squeeze Barbara's jicama. That is literally what he said. Our entrepreneurs then try to counter for 7%, but neither of the sharks are willing to go that low. Then we get a little shark fight in the tank.
Look, I can open up the doors of grocery because I have so many other products in there.
He's honestly overpromising.
She's talking her book.
I know what I do well. I do sales and marketing. That's how I became rich in the first place. I know it better than anyone else. I can certainly deliver the same social marketing as Mr. Wonderful, who thinks he's much more wonderful than he actually is. Okay?
Oh.
Because he's an overstater.
You want the truth? The only reason she's here is I bought her a new broom this year.
And I'm going to tell him where to shove that broom any minute.
After the commotion, the entrepreneurs counter Barbara $300,000 for 6% equity and 2% advisory shares, along with the pro rata agreement. It is a mouthful of an offer, I know. Barbara says if they bump that advisory up to 3%, she's in, and they end up making a deal. Final thoughts, I think it's a neat idea, and I think it's a good price point for everything. I really want to try the Jica de Gallo. That sounds so good to me, but unfortunately it looks like there's none sold near me, which stinks. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Emrita walked into the tank looking for $250,000 for 5% of her eco-friendly 100% natural cotton disposable diapers. So here it is. It's kind of weird to show because, I mean, it is just a diaper, but it's supposed to feel better than the normal diapers that are made out of harsh plastics, and it's supposed to be more leak-proof than other eco diapers out there. She actually started as an engineer, and before this, she had moved to India to make eco-friendly sanitary pads out of banana tree fibers and grew that business successfully before moving back to the US. Then when she's back, she's in her 30s, her friends start having babies, and she realized she could take that same idea and work to make diapers that not only feel better than a plastic diaper, but are also better for the environment. She's actually a brand new mom herself, and she actually got the call that she was going to be on Shark Tank while she was in the delivery room for her baby, which I think is a great story. Her landed cost is $39, and she sells them direct to consumer for a one-time purchase of $88, or you can sign up for their monthly subscription, and it's $78 a month. They launched about a year ago and have done $850,000 in sales. However, they're not profitable yet, and they lost $1.5 million last year. But they expect to be profitable next year with $5.4 million in sales. And the sharks won't be her first investors. She's already raised $3.2 million at a $12.5 million valuation, which can be good or bad for making a deal in the tank. Mark asks what her future plans are, and she talks about how they've recently launched baby wipes and plan to move into the market of training and swim pants. And then past that, they eventually want to get into the adult diaper space. Mark is immediately interested and wants to team up with our guest shark, Gwyneth Paltrow. They make her an offer of $250,000 for 12%. She tries a counter, which y'all know I always say you should at least go for a little counter while you're in there, and she asks for $250,000 for 8%. Mark and Gwyneth say let's meet in the middle at 10%, and even say if they want to make some of that advisory shares, they would be fine with it. And in the end, they end up making a deal for $250,000 with 7% equity split between them and 3% advisory shares. I feel like all the deals made this episode were mouthfuls. Final thoughts, like always, I'm going to be super real with y'all. I don't have a baby. None of my close friends have babies, so I don't know anything about diapers and all this. What I do know is she seems like a great entrepreneur, and this seems like a great product. But most importantly, I just really like her, and I hope they do well. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.